guys, and welcome back to another episode of Life with Klee Kai. I've got Copper here, we got Skye here, and for this video I'm going to see can I get them to sit on my lap throughout the whole thing, because usually they're fidget monsters and I'm a fidget monster too. Got some treats here to try and bribe Copper, because I think Skye will stay, but Copper usually doesn't sit still for that long. So for this video I'm going to do 5 things I wish I knew about Alaskan Klee Kai before I got these two little characters. So as you probably know, at this stage we've had Skye and Copper for quite some time now. We got Skye in September 2017 and we got this little food motivated boy in January 2018. And before we got Skye, there were some things that we didn't know about Klee Kai and later found out when we had her. And even having owned Skye for 6 months almost, there were still things that we learned about Klee Kai when we got Copper. So I want to touch upon them, especially if you're thinking about getting a Klee Kai and you think you've done your research, but maybe there's some things that you haven't considered, and I want to help you with that and just give you some advice and some insight into how we found owning a Klee Kai and 2 Klee Kai. So my first thing I wanted to touch upon is separation anxiety, and that's probably the biggest regret that we have in terms of not researching it before we got Skye and Copper. Skye had it from the very start. When she was a puppy, we would leave her and she would scream the house down. Fortunately, at the very start when we got her, we were living with my in-laws, my wife's parents, and they had a house that was quite big in terms of land around it. So luckily there weren't any neighbours that could really hear her screaming the place down. Now, at the time we did the let her cry it out method, which is where basically you let them cry and cry and cry, and the hope is that they will get used to it over a period of time. It never really worked. And just before we got Copper and brought him home, Skye had started to adjust to being in the cage by herself when we went out. And then we got Copper and we thought, oh great, we'll have 2 Klee Kai, the problem will go. But that wasn't the case at all, because Copper had worse separation anxiety than Skye ever had, and it's something that we've been working on ever since. Skye has improved a lot. She doesn't really make that much noise anymore. She may be suffering internally, but outwardly we don't really see that many symptoms. But Copper, he still has a little bit of a moan and a cry for the first 5 minutes, and then he'll settle down and relax. He goes to sleep for a bit, and then about 3 or 4 hours into it, he will start to wake up and he'll be upset if we're not home. I'm struggling here to keep them on me, as you can see. Let's see, we'll keep doing it. We'll try. My next point is something that I individually would believe, and so does my wife, and it's based upon our experience, but it's not necessarily something that I would recommend everyone go out and do. But because at the end of the day, every dog is different, and that's worth remembering. But in our experience, we feel like 2 Klee Kai are definitely better than 1. And I think if we could go back and do it again, we would definitely get 2 Klee Kai together. So if we ever do get more Klee Kai further down the line, when Skye and Copper have gone to doggy heaven, we'll definitely get 2 together instead of getting them 1 and then another 1 further down the line, because together they are definitely better. They love each other's company. They're really, really bonded to each other. They just come into the bedroom and they'll play by themselves in the afternoon for hours. They won't even need us around. Obviously there's a separation anxiety element where I wouldn't recommend just getting a second dog to cure the separation anxiety. As we proved, that isn't necessarily a fix. Obviously I should point out that not all dogs are going to want to be in the cage with another dog. It's just our 2 like being in the cage together. They feel snuggled and secure from what we can tell. So that's why we do it. But obviously talk to your vet or talk to your breeder or talk to your trainer about that before you go ahead and do it, because you wouldn't want something disastrous to happen. But overall, I would say, yeah, getting 2 Klee Kai was definitely a better fit for us. It tires them out more, they have greater companionship, and yeah, it was all around the best decision that we've probably made. We did speak to our breeder to ask what kind of personality would complement Skye, and she did a fantastic job recommending Copper. Another thing that we've encountered, and we weren't really prepared to encounter, was how fussy and picky they can be. Now, we stuck with the food that the breeder was giving Skye and Copper when we first brought them both home. And it was all going well for the first 3 or 4 months, and then slowly they started to turn their nose up at the food, and that led to a string of health problems, and they became very, very fussy and picky with dry food especially. Now, I wish I'd known, because it does seem to be quite a common trend with Klee Kai. Again, not all Klee Kai, every dog is different, but I've spoken to about 5 or 6 different Klee Kai owners who have definitely experienced this with their dogs, and we have found that kind of home cooked style meals do best. We feed our dogs a brand of food called Butternut Box. So it's freshly prepared food using fresh ingredients. 60% of it is meat, and it's shipped direct to our door. And when you open it up and rip the package open, it looks like human grade quality food, and they absolutely love it. A thing that we'd never heard, despite owning other dogs, but we had never owned Klee Kai, was the reverse sneeze. Now, it's something that can be quite panicking when you first see it. It looks like your dog is having some kind of asthma attack or a coughing fit, and we were genuinely worried that they were going to have an attack or a seizure when we first saw them having it. Now, as Copper gets it more often than Skye, but after a quick Google, we could see that it was a reverse sneeze and there was nothing to worry about. Usually it does pass, but it's something that I wish we had done a little bit more research about and had known about a bit more before we got Copper and Skye, because it was really quite worrying the first few times we had seen it happen. Happened to Skye a few times before we got Copper and it passed. We never really thought anything of it, but Copper used to get reverse sneezing quite badly. But now, perhaps because we've changed his food, I don't know what triggers the reverse sneezing, but he does it a lot less now. Could also obviously be the time of year. Finally, the other thing that I think we'd wish we'd known about were all the Facebook groups for Klee Kai. There's a lot of different Facebook groups, Alaskan Klee Kai groups, that you can find, and that's really a great source of information, and a lot of the groups are quite friendly and they will let you put in a question about Klee Kai. So if you're thinking about getting a Klee Kai, you could ask people what are their recommendations for breeders. You can ask any kind of question. There's all the owners are on there, so usually you'll get quite a thorough answer, and more than one answer too, so you have a selection to choose from. So they're the 5 things that I wish we'd known about Alaskan Klee Kai before we got them. If you'd like to ask me any questions about this video or about Klee Kai in general, feel free to DM us on Instagram. Our Instagram is Life With Klee Kai. You can also find us on TikTok, Life With Klee Kai. We're really trying to grow a follower account on YouTube, so I'd really appreciate if you hit subscribe, you rung the bell to make sure you get notified when we have another video. And yeah, like I said, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. We're just trying to get to the 10K mark. If you have any topics that you want to learn more about, then also send me a DM on Instagram. I'd be happy to do a video answering any questions that anybody has. It might be a good topic for me to do. So for now, I'm gonna let them go. They actually managed to stay on my lap for the entire video, which I'm surprised about, although Copper had to be seriously bribed with food the whole time, as you can tell. Skye's not as food motivated and a lot more chill, but she's about to hop off, so it's a great time to sign off. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.